Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Think Great Experience. I am extremely fired up today because I love bringing on passionate people who are excited about the greatness that they're doing in the world. And we have somebody today that from the moment I met her, I knew that not only was she fired up, but she is here for a purpose, helping people, helping businesses to achieve greater results. She was a former speech and language pathologist, which is absolutely awesome. And I hope we talk a little bit about that, and now is the president of RLL Marketing, a very successful marketing firm that helps clients in a number of ways that we're going to dive into. But I am excited to bring you rock star and fireball, Robin Lipnack. Robin, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you for having me here. Appreciate it.
Well, from the first time we met, I knew that we were going to do a podcast episode together. Your passion and excitement for what you do is really just unmatched.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about your role at RL Marketing?
Right. Yeah, we actually are strictly a business development company. We're not really your traditional marketing company. We don't deal with websites or SEO, PR, advertising, anything like that. It's strictly a company that does business development, which means companies hire us on a retainer fee plus commission if it's allowed by law. And we do their business development. We build their relationships. We make sure that their business transacts. We make the introductions. But the most important piece of what we do is we follow up. When you're on a call with somebody and on Monday, they're going to introduce you to somebody on Tuesday, they're on a call with my clients. And of course, they don't do that. I follow up. I make sure that business transacts. And, I've had to, sometimes email or call a company 4 to 5 times for a client, but you pace yourself, not all the time, but that by reaching out that 5th time, you're able to get that big client for the client that I represent.
Well, you touched on follow-up. I mean, that's incredibly huge. I don't think enough organizations do follow up the right way.
No, I haven't seen anybody, not that I'm the greatest or anything like that, far from it, but, I've never seen anybody, follow up like I do. And that's probably the biggest compliment that I get and most often is that, Robin, I've never seen anybody follow up like you do. I'll have calls with, some of my clients, for example, a company that I work with, 32 Degrees, they do meal delivery in South Florida, freshly frozen meals. And, we're working with a major university. We've had to talk to, 3 to 4 to 5 people. I do not give up. And now we're going on our last call. The chef actually tasted the food, and now we're going on with their new director who just started. So it's all about the follow-up. And the same thing happened with, I work with one of the top 20 US software and app engineering companies. And I had met with the former president of a luxury hotel down here. And, 5 emails later and several meetings, we got the account, which is really exciting. So it's all about that follow-up. Took me 5 times.
I mean, I knew when I first talked to you, you're the type of person that never quits. And that stood out. And I got to ask you, what causes that drive in you? What pushes you so much for such high levels of excellence?
Yeah, I think it's just, I think a word that I use and people throw around a lot is integrity. I was taught that by my parents, who I'm very close with, and my brother and sister were all the same. If you say you're going to do something, you just do it. And if you can't for any reason, because life happens, you have to let the person know why, you can't follow through. But to me, it's like, it's all about integrity and being, wanting to be successful, wanting my clients to be happy, just wanting to feel accomplished in my own life, and, you had mentioned about speech language pathology, even though I have above my graduate degree in that, and I did work with neurologically impaired patients in hospitals after grad school, even though I'm not using that education right now, it's, it still comes through, with what I'm doing. And it's, the healthcare background came in handy as well. So,
yeah. Well, now let me ask you this. We all faced some challenges over the last 2 years. A lot of businesses had to improvise and adapt and overcome, as I like to say with my military background. What was it like for you with RL Marketing Group during that time period, during COVID?
During
What were
COVID,
some of the challenges that you faced? How did you improvise, adapt, and overcome for your clients?
that's really an interesting question. I really had to, change. I lost a couple of clients. I mean, that is the truth because nobody's out there doing business development. Everybody's kind of, hunkered in. So I
Yeah.
did get in, I pivoted a little bit to some PPE and made some extra money kind of that way. But I didn't get into it into a lot. And then it wasn't really that long. I think I had dropped down to two, maybe three clients at that point. So, I just kept them going as much as possible. And honestly, they were loyal to me and kept going. And then sure enough, as we were kind of coming out, I picked up a couple more companies and now I'm busy and probably literally have room for one more. But then I'm, also working on some other projects as well.
Well, let's hope that we can get that one more for you off of this show.
Yeah, maybe two. We'll see.
Okay, we can stretch it to two. We can do that. Nothing is
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah, just always looking for companies that are, that are pretty much established, at least a little bit. Complete startups are just very, are really difficult, unless they have some, a little bit of funding to pay for services. But,
Yeah.
I'm looking for a company, always looking for interesting companies in, I've worked in the industry such as technology, real estate, financial, hospitality, food and beverage, healthcare, and legal. And I've even dabbled a little bit in sports, entertainment, and music as well. So
No,
any of those companies that are looking for some help.
and I know that you've got some amazing things coming up in the world of sports for business development. Is that correct?
That is correct. I hired a wonderful business coach, which we mutually know, by the name of Marcus Ogden, who's a former NFL player. And Marcus has taught me, a lot of different things about, taking my business into a different direction. Some of the things he's taught me, of course, I've already known and have already implemented, into
Yeah.
my company. But I've always had a love for, music, entertainment, and sports. So what we kind of came up with for me was I'm going to be working with NFL athletes, and it could be MLB or NBA as well. I actually years ago did some PR and business development for a former New York Giants player. So he had exposed me to
Awesome.
a lot of different situations that were going on with athletes as far as with their health care and what to do when they get out of the game. So we've had discussions, and of course I know, being in South Florida, I know quite a few other professional athletes as well. And we've all discussed it a couple of times over, including with Marcus, that, what happens to the player that's played for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? They've lived in this athletic bubble. They've, met the same people. They've stayed only in,
Yeah.
That bubble. So what do you do when the cheering stops? What is next for you? There's plenty of amazing, wonderful coaches out there for mindset, which are,
Yeah.
are very, very much needed. But we also, what do you do as far as, like, are you going to go into real estate? Are you going to get your wealth management license? Are you going to go into stocks? Are you going to go into real estate? What are you going to do? Are you going to go back to school? Because most of
Right.
these guys are, in their late 20s, early 30s at that point. They've got a whole life ahead of them. Are you going to get into technology? Will you be investing in an app? Will you be creating an app? There's so many different, possibilities and opportunities out there. My job will be to guide them as to what the next steps will be, and actually making the connections and showing them how on LinkedIn to reach out to somebody. What do you say in an email to get that meeting? What events should you be going to? So all of that.
It's just going to open so many doors for you and for those athletes.
Yeah, hopefully. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and I know we had Marcus on the show here before. He was awesome. And,
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't team up with somebody better to help coach you into the sports world than Marcus, who was
Right.
in the NFL. So, I mean, that's just going to be incredible. And, when he was on the show, we talked about how hard the transitions can be for athletes.
Yeah.
And so, for you to help with that transition is absolutely phenomenal. And you're going to help them reach these new levels of greatness in their lives.
Right. And especially, with their, in case some of them have any, health issues as well. Because
Sure.
a lot of them come out, with maybe concussions. And
Yeah.
obviously being a speech pathologist, I'm familiar with all that goes with traumatic brain injury and everything, and neurological issues. Plus, there would be orthopedic issues and physical issues. Where do they go next? And,
That's right.
it's like I said, the mindset is definitely there because they've been playing. So the mindset for, positivity and moving forward is definitely a needed, is definitely, that coach is needed, but also as far as my end of it, it's going to be a little bit different.
Well, as you start to put together your business development program for these athletes, we might have to work in the Think Great experience so they can get on and share their experience on the podcast and
That would be
share it
great.
with the world and help get the word out there for them. So
My,
they could
pro-
get
my, My program's actually written, and I already added the page on my website for it, so you can
Oh,
see
there
that.
we go. So then now we're partnered up. So it's official. We're announcing it to the world.
Awesome.
So fast things happen with Robin Lipnack. That's why people on this, if you're listening to this, you need to reach out to her. Jeez, so fast, such a fireball. Okay, so being a speech language pathologist, and then into the marketing side of things with RLL, what prompted you to make that shift so many years ago?
Great question. I actually was working as a speech pathologist in a rehab hospital, an acute care hospital. And then I went into subacute rehab and I was laid off. And I had done a couple of little of sales jobs, making like no money. What am I going to do with the rest of my life? That type of thing. And my brother, who was living here at the time, he's now in Atlanta. He's a very successful chiropractor down here. And he said there was an MRI company opening up the street from me. It's owned by a father, son, and a wife. And go interview for the job. I'm like, I barely know what an MRI is, and I've never done any marketing before, business development. I'm like, all right, I'll go. So I went up for the interview, and I literally got the job that day. That day they hired me, which I'm like, that's crazy to think about. But they only started me part-time. They wanted me to prove myself. They were actually putting in a an open MRI. It was an open MRI. The center was decorated beautifully in Fort Lauderdale. And I became their marketing director with the son. And then he ended up leaving the business. So I just stayed with the husband and wife for 6 years, hired everybody, was in and out of doctors' offices and attorneys' offices and business people's offices. And then they also had great budgets for me to do amazing events. So I used to throw these incredible events. If anybody in South Florida, they know the night of the boat parade. I got to throw a party for 500 people. I did it by myself. For 500 people the night of the Fort Lauderdale boat parade, around Christmas time. So unfortunately, after 6 years, very successful company, I got called into the office and they said that they sold. So there went that. And the new company came in. I was beyond miserable and left and started my own business development company. I just focused in healthcare for years, actually, until I threw an event and met the NFL athlete that I was telling you about, who was at my event. We met for coffee after that, and he became a mentor to me and opened my eyes and ears, and there's so many other opportunities out there besides healthcare, and that's how I ended up expanding into all these verticals.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, sometimes those challenges that we face open up some new opportunities right beyond, what we face.
Oh,
And,
absolutely, yeah, no, absolutely.
and it sounds like you were able to turn some of those challenges into, positive opportunities for yourself, which has been huge. Imagine if you didn't, imagine if that did not happen, all the clients you wouldn't have right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's crazy
when they called me and I cried, I walked out, I cried. First of all, it was very family oriented. I worked my butt off for those 6 years.
Yeah.
But we were like a family, and it was devastating to me. When the new company took over and we were treated miserably. They had taken away my office, my title, like 20 or 30,000 of my pay, all my accrued vacation for 6 years. So that was a good incentive to start my own.
Yeah, I would think so. I'll bet there's people listening right now that are getting inspired to start their own business. The whole pandemic has been tough.
You just got to take a leap of faith sometimes and, get your ducks in a row, talk to people, surround yourself with positive, uplifting, experienced, intelligent people. That's what I did.
That's huge. I've said many times before that, our success in the world is largely based on the books that we're reading and the people we're surrounding ourselves with and interacting with and gaining wisdom from. And it sounds like you've done just that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now, I know that you're very goal oriented too. In addition to the business development side for athletes, which is incredibly exciting. Do you have any other goals that you're currently working on?
Basically, I would like to, like I said, add another couple of business development clients with established, interesting companies.
Yeah.
I want to be successful for for the 5 or 6 clients that I have right now. I'm just about to add another one. It's a technology company for pharmacies, it's software and a company. And it was a blockchain technology built by the company that I work with, Augusta High Tech. And then the CEO came to me and said, I'd like for you to do what you're doing for them, for me. So he's just waiting for his tranche of investment money, which should be any second now. So I'll be joining that company as well. So that would be, some of my goals. And then to, my everyday, what I wake up for is to be successful for my clients and bring the title company, that's the high tech, Clear Lake Financial, 32 degrees, microblocks, all my clients,
Yeah.
business. Yeah.
I think what's unique about what you do, and I've had the opportunity to hop on the phone with you and one of your clients already, their goals become your goals. It's almost impossible to distinguish you from somebody else at the company. When you're on the phone, you sound like you're a member of that organization. I don't think that happens a lot in the realm that you work in. I think you're very unique like that, because I've met a lot of people in that space that you're in, but you can tell that they're running their own show. There's almost a blurred line in a good way, a blurred line with um, what your role is at RLL Marketing and the fact that you're not a member of that company. And I think that's a huge compliment to the fact that you take on that company's goals, their objectives, their priorities, their mission, their vision. And that's something I noticed right out of the gates with you. Have you always, treated your clients like that? Have you always been that much in the trenches with them?
Absolutely. No, I mean, I take call, honestly, more than them. Like if somebody emails me at 10 o'clock at night and says, hey, I want to talk to Marcy about, doing the title for my company. What do you call it? I'll email back at 10 o'clock at night. Marcy probably will wait till the next morning. So I'm like 24/7 like that for my clients, 100%. And sometimes, what I've learned, a little bit is that I put myself almost like RLL in the background. Like I'm always focusing on my clients, and people don't exactly know what I do. They just see different, I'm active on social media. They'll see different,
Yeah.
different posts about my clients, and they're like, well, what do you do for all these people? So I'm trying to learn, and that's why, Eric, thank you for this opportunity. I need to put myself also out there and let people know what I do for my, what RLL Marketing Group is about. Plus, the name is a little bit, it gives you that impression. It's websites and SEO and social
Yeah.
media, but I have nothing to do with that. I do post a lot about my clients on my social media because I have, 26 or 27,000 on LinkedIn and 5,000 on my personal Facebook page, Instagram, and a business page as well. So, but I post about them there, but I do not control their social media or anything about that.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I first met you and we were talking to one of your clients, I just figured you were in the C-suite in their organization before I realized you had your own business that you were running. You were doing so many things for so many others, and that's just a huge testament to how much you care. So I just wanted you to know that I noticed that, and I know other people notice it too.
Thank you. No, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Now, having been in the military, I love acronyms. I love acronyms, and I know that on your website you actually have an acronym as you're talking about the sports world of coach.
Mhm.
And I was just fascinated that you were able to kind of encapsulate things within this acronym. C is care. Um, how did you come up with this acronym?
I'm going to be super honest with you. That's Marcus Ogden, not me.
Is that
He
his on
just
your
rattled
site?
it. He rattled that off to me last week, and I just ran with it. So I want to give credit where credit is due.
Hey,
Marcus took him 2 minutes to think that up for me. I took notes. I did not, I shortened everything up a little bit, but I want to give Marcus the credit for that. He thought of that, and I absolutely fell in love with it. So I
well,
put it on my website.
I'll tell you what, for your sports clients for business development, I think it's awesome because they know the power of a coach, and I feel that you're stepping into that role. And
Right.
just to finish it up, it was care, objectives. It was affluent, consistent, and high performers.
Mhm.
And immediately when I saw that, I thought of you working with that acronym with your clients and just how empowering that's going to be. So hats off to Marcus on that, and hats off to you for putting it on your website already. I'm excited for you to roll that out for all those clients. I can't wait to see the impact you're going to make with all these people.
Yeah,
And there's so
I'm
many
really
people
excited.
transitioning.
No, I'm so excited because these guys need help. I mean, they really do. And they've when I used to talk to my professional athlete contacts and everything. They just how do I want to say it? These poor guys sometimes are just taken advantage of, and they're built up so much. And then as soon as they leave professional sports, it's like, see ya, you're on your own. Thank you for your service type of thing,
Yeah.
And that's where I want to pick up. Like, no, you're valuable. No, look at your skills. I mean, look at the dedication it takes to be a professional athlete. Look at that mindset, that it takes. There's so many things that can be applied to the business life and the business world after, after the game is over, just even keeping yourself fit. I mean, that takes dedication and all of that.
That's right.
Stuff too. So I want to build upon those skills and kind of bring those skills out of the players and make them move forward in life.
Well, it's just so honorable, so admirable what you're doing, because very much like when military get out, when they transition out, Big Brother's not there for them anymore as far as, all the structure. So I can imagine with the athletes, it must be foreign to them not having a coach around, not having the structure and the regimen of practice around, and the games and the cheering fans. I'm sure it's like they go back into a different world.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that you mentioned the vets. That's something that somebody brought up to me last week about maybe you should do the same thing for vets and include them. And that's something it's the same thing. So that's something I'm thinking about adding very quickly, or if somebody came to me, to send me a client for that, I would definitely be interested in doing that. There's really, it's the same thing. So I just want to put that out there too. I mean, our vets are extremely valuable. So I would have no issue helping them with coaching as well, doing the exact same program that it is, for the athletes. It's the same thing.
It is. And so many of them are entrepreneurial in spirit when they get out. They want to, they have so much on the leadership side, the discipline side, the attention to detail, pride, reputation, everything. But again, sometimes they can be out there and they have benefits, but they don't have anybody out there helping to coach them. Well, that could be another good partnership for us, because
keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. I'm very open to that.
Yeah, I think that would be fantastic, because you're right. The veteran community, there's probably 200,000 plus that transition out every single year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of people coming back into the workplace that sometimes don't know the steps to take. And I could see you being a good coach for them too. So we'll have to put that one on the goal list for you and I too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm 100% open to that. And, even them more than the players. I mean, they've been away a lot of times overseas and everything. They don't have the time. They're not making connections with business people. They really have no, at least the athletes have been out and about at events and things like that. And, they have a little bit of a head start, I think, but the vets are really starting from scratch a lot of times. So definitely open to expanding that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we've got some things in the works that we've done to help vets too. So we'll have to connect and see if we could create some of that synergy that I know can happen.
100%.
So, what's the most exciting thing for you that you do when you're working with your clients? What is it that you like the most? I have an idea of what part of it is, but I want to see if we're on the same page with this. But
I love the art of connecting people, and
I know it.
When business transacts between the two parties, that's like when it works, it's just like the best for me. Like, when I introduce two people and they hit it off and they refer business to each other, my clients or whatever, and the other person I introduce them to, that just makes me, so happy. It's just, that art of putting people together. And, I could basically talk to anyone for 5 minutes and introduce them to probably 8 to 10 people right off there. And if I don't know, if they need to meet somebody that I don't know, I'm literally one person away from that, the connection that they need. Because I can get to, a funny story was the athlete that I was working with from the New York Giants was Leonard Marshall. He played back in the, I guess the 90s or whatever it was. So he called me up one day when I was working with him and he said, I want to get on Dancing with the Stars. I'm like, cool idea. Let me know how it goes. And he's like, no, you don't understand. You need to get me on Dancing with the Stars. I'm like, what? I go, I don't know anybody from Dancing with the Stars, Leonard. I mean, that couldn't be farther from like anything I'm capable of doing. It's like, just do it. I'm like, I don't know. What do I do? And he's like, I have faith. Just go do it. I know you can do it. And I'm like, all right. So I literally did a Google search, ABC, got to Dancing with the Stars, called them, let them know, who I was representing at the time. And sure enough, it took me 15 minutes, literally 15 minutes. I got to, Dina Katz, who is still the casting director, to this day. And then I became connected through her to one of the former music producers. So all the music and all the acts that were on Dancing with the Stars, she connected me to Steven. And to this day, Steven and I remain in touch, and we've been trying to do some technology projects with Augusta High Tech together. So that relationship has remained. And not only did Leonard go out there and try, he didn't get picked because he wasn't as well known on the West Coast as he is obviously on the East Coast. But I got to fly out there too and be in the audience with Dancing with the Stars, which was an amazing experience, a lot of fun.
Well, mission accomplished. I mean, you did it.
Mission accomplished. 15 minutes. So just going back to what you said, when I had no idea what to do with Dancing with the Stars, how would I get him on there? It took me 15 minutes and I did it.
I mean, how important is it? People are listening right now, hearing all the things that you're doing. You just reached out to Dancing with the Stars for an NFL player. You had no connections there, and you did it. How important is it for people to step out of their comfort levels right now?
Oh my gosh, it's so important. I mean, you got to do it smartly. You can't take, some sort of a crazy risk that in your gut is not going to work out. But putting yourself on the line and doing something that maybe you're fearful of, that type of thing. I was Dancing with the Stars. How am I going to talk to a producer there? What do I don't even know what to say, but I figured it out and I did it. That kind of thing, that's where you really should push yourself out of the box. I'm not, that's different than maybe investing a lot of money, harder into a project, or a lot of money into into some sort of an investment. That's a whole different risk. So what I'm talking about is kind of putting yourself out there mentally and, business-wise and things like that. And to me, I can connect somebody and I have literally no fear. I've literally walked up to presidents, and I've walked up to Steven Tyler at a little party that we were at. And I've, got his autograph, and I've done it, it all. But, to me, it's no big deal. But I realize, and I know that there's a lot of people there who have such a fear of reaching out to somebody or going to a networking event or being on Zoom, and how do I reach out afterwards? I give my clients an idea where if you get an invitation to an event that's in California or you're in Florida, reach out to the speakers at the event that are usually C-suite, that are influential people, and say, hey, I got the invitation to the XYZ seminar you're speaking at, June 16th. Can we connect? And then you write to them afterwards as to maybe connecting them with a client, or why you want to talk to them. So that's a really good idea. So
I love that you call it the art. Well, I love that you call it the art of connecting. It really is an art form. It's not something you just happen to do. I mean, you're very passionate about it. And I feel that networking, connecting face to face or even on Zoom is so critical, but the pandemic really caused a lot of complacency to happen in our social gatherings. I think it threw people back a long time. So I think that the art is needed now more than ever. Have you noticed that it's caused a little bit of ripple in people wanting to get together, the whole pandemic and being socially distanced? Did you feel that impact from the connection standpoint?
Well, nobody for a long time, wanted to get together for coffee, lunch, dinner, or go to an event, And I'm still a little leery about, I've gone to luncheons and small events, and I'm certainly doing, lunch meetings and all that, and one-to-one meetings. But I'm being honest, still at this point, I'm not super comfortable going into an event with 300 or 200 people with COVID. I'm still not overly confident with that. But
well, hopefully that'll pass at some point too for everybody.
Yeah. But going back to events and everything in meetings, that's been wonderful. That's a lot of fun. And they're really, Zoom is great, but there's still that one little extra step, that one little extra thing, when you're out at a personal, one face-to-face meeting or networking event it just makes it a little bit easier. But then again, I just started to say, a lot of people don't feel comfortable. They'll go. It has nothing to do with COVID. They just don't feel comfortable. What do I say? I don't want to seem like I'm bragging about myself. I don't have to start the conversation. My advice is start with a compliment, maybe something they're wearing, or hi, what do you do? People love to talk about themselves. So you say, hi, that's how you start. Easy breezy like that.
I think that's such a great tip. I honestly think you have to come back on the show and we just talk about connecting, have a whole episode on connecting, because we host events and I will have a lot of our clients out there, and I have to tell them sometimes, you guys need to spread out. Like, go,
Mm.
they're in a clump, and it's like go meet some people. You already know each other. But it's interesting to watch people's dynamics at these events, networking events, or any type. Like when I go and I do speaking events, whether it's a small crowd or a large crowd, you can see that some people are uncomfortable with it, and it's just meeting
They stay
people.
in one place. They stay in one place. They
Yeah.
don't move around. But when I used to host events and everything, I would actually so I see 3 or 4 people talking. I would know somebody like I would say, "Hey Joe, come with me. I want you to meet Mary and Joe. They do this, they do that." And so Mary would say, "Excuse me, who's what she's doing?" And she would come with me, and I would introduce her to the 2 or 3 people that potentially could help her. So I would personally move people around myself, and they loved it.
Yeah. Well, I think that, part of it is you have that magnetic aura to you. You attract people to you. They want to be around you. I think you make people feel comfortable right out of the gates. It feels like it felt like I knew you for a lot longer than I knew you because we just hopped on our first Zoom call and I got off and I was actually telling my team, I said, I have a feeling we're going to do a lot with Robin.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that coming from you. That means a lot.
The whole purpose of our show is to inspire people to achieve greatness in their lives.
Hmm.
And did you have some moments, personal or professional, that you felt were just defining moments of greatness, something you accomplished that you felt so proud about?
Um, every day, I put 100%, into my clients. I think that's, something that I do every day. I think some other accomplishments were, you know, with Augusta High Tech, getting the Boca Raton Hotel and Resort as a client. That was, one of my bigger moments as well. That's just, that was just an amazing an opportunity for them. What else? I don't know. That's a good question.
You've accomplished so many amazing things in your life. You've impacted so many people, you know?
Yeah, and I try to help people. Like, I get calls for everything. If somebody needs a job, I try to help them find it. I don't charge them, right? Like, oh yeah, I know somebody for this, and I do get a lot of people who ask me if I know somebody that is hiring. So I'll introduce them to my recruiter friends or my staffing friends, and try to get them jobs and things like that. But I try to help that. I try to help that way. I try to give a lot of free advice. People will call me if they're starting a business or something like that. What can I
Yeah.
do? I don't charge them for that. I just, I'll spend a half hour, an hour on the phone with them, giving them ideas, giving them some initial connections, that type of thing.
I feel that people that achieve greatness have this tendency to give back. And
Yeah.
that's what I gather from you. Like for us, we have a foundation. We give back to the military, specifically spouses. So we'll award scholarships to military spouses. Um, I know a lot of people like to give back to their communities. Is that something that's important to you? That give back to the communities, or just giving back to somebody in need, even if it's somebody saying, "Hey, how can you help me?" or "I need some help with something." I know that factors into your life. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not, I'm not like, I haven't founded a foundation or anything like that. I just try to help people like, more, I would say more on an individual basis, that type of thing. My parents have gone through some health issues, especially my mom. So, I am a very dedicated daughter to them. That takes up a lot of time in the evenings and a lot of time
Yeah,
on the weekends. And I never say no to them for anything. So, over the past 2 or 3 years, that's played a little bit of, a part of my
sure.
life as far as, giving back and everything like that. So,
Yeah,
yeah, but, mostly when I'm, if I did mentor a girl. She's now graduating from high school. Her mom had passed away at a young age. So I was part of a mentor program with her. So that was very rewarding. I would love to do, more of that. So, yeah, those are
I think just like that giving back side, I think it's essential helping other people because we can't just help ourselves.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know,
I'm always, that's what, which brings us back to the point that I made before is that, sometimes I put RLL back, on the back burner and I'm pushing my clients out there. And then I realize, well, people don't even know what you do. So, that's something I have been focusing on my clients. I'll speak about myself last. It'll be, the clients go first.
so what does that typical cycle look like for a new client? Let's just say somebody's listening right now and they're going to call you up and they want to become your client. What is that process of working with somebody like your onboarding of them, if you will? Like,
It's super simple. It's because I can run with this. I don't need a lot of hand holding. Basically, we have a good half hour, 45 minutes or an hour chat about their business and what they're looking to do. Kind of an interview type of thing. And then I basically send them my agreement and we sign and we start. And I usually need maybe like a half hour or an hour of training at the most, usually
yeah,
like a half hour. And then I just run with it. I don't need anything from them. And then they just literally have to sit back, look pretty, and the meetings start the first week. All my clients can attest that meetings start the first week. It's not where you see results, 3 weeks or a month or two later. It's the first week that you start to see these meetings and results. And I ask that my clients, follow up as well, because they're going to be the face. They're selling their business. I'm just making the introduction and opening the door, but they have to close the door for sure. So I
well,
need my clients to follow up and respond, which they usually do. I work with them on that.
I think that your art of connecting, there's your book. I know we talked a little bit offline about a book for you. Maybe
My
that's it.
parents have been saying that for 100 million years to write a book.
Well, have you ever thought about what your topic would be?
Just, the art of, just like you just said, the art of business development, that type of thing.
I think you have a knack for it. I think that your focus on it is so unique and so different than everybody else. I think that you are in the trenches with your clients, and for these calls, these meetings to start within 1 week, that has to blow their minds.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so not like a leads group or, that type of thing, or, a marketing company that's, just kind of throwing stuff out there. I mean, these are, it's not, I really don't even ever use the word lead. It's not a qualified lead. It's relationship building, the power of relationship building. That's what I'm about. It's about, introducing, Marcy, who owns a title company, like we did this morning, to a realtor. We were on the phone for 45 minutes. Marcy got to know the realtor. Now they're going to have lunch. That's what we do. And, the next closing, I'll send it over to Marcy. That's
Right.
how it works. Clear Lake Financial with Ron, who does working capital, money for equipment, for a real estate build out, buy or sell business. I'm always introducing to people, and, I make sure that they try to help them make sure that when he talks to somebody that the paperwork is sent and all that kind of good stuff. So, yeah.
I mean, I think when you're looking at the art of connections, and then there's that commitment to building relationships, that's a lost art form too.
It
I
is, and
think,
that's the sad part. I
yeah,
always say, my life would be so much easier if people would respond to a phone call or an email. Like, it would just, that art of, communication. Like, I literally have people who want to do business like on WhatsApp or text. I'm like, I don't have time to sit and text, conversations to you on how to work with you. I just can't do it. So if you can't
that's
work,
right.
spend 15 minutes on the phone, and the
Yeah,
other, the other challenge on that side is where you'll talk to somebody, I'll introduce them to a client. We have an amazing call. And then you follow up, and they say they're going to make maybe an introduction to, one of my clients, and they just ghost. Like, what part of, yes, I'm going to introduce Marcy to so-and-so did I misunderstand? They just disappear,
well, that also goes back to what you said in the very beginning
integrity
about
and follow through.
integrity. Yeah. Well, I just think that relationship side is so critical. You're right. So many people just want to snap you or text you or whatever, give you a tweet. But even for my line of work, I mean, I go in and I do keynotes. I always require a discovery call. I want to get to know them.
Right.
I don't want to just do a bobblehead presentation. And I
Right.
can imagine in your line of work, you've got to really get to know your clients. Those relationships have to be ongoing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, because I have to get to know my clients, because I have, one client who, like, he doesn't barely read my emails. I have to text him when something important happens. I have to set up meetings by text for him and go back and forth because he's just too busy, that type of thing. Or I have to alert him if there's something important. Well, most of my clients are kind of like that, actually. I have to alert them, like, for 32 degrees for, what do you call it? For the meals and everything, I do alert him. Hey, Borgia, we've heard from the yacht company. Make sure that you reply back. We've heard back from this organization. Make sure you reply back, because I'm very strong on getting back to people within 24 to 48 at the most. We all are, like, in parking lots, or you're in wherever you are, you can get back to people within 48 hours, 72 at the most. unless something tragic happens in the
That's
family,
right.
of course, that's a totally different story.
Well, I think there's a couple things you and I obsess on. It's the art of connecting, and it's also the art of follow up.
Hmm.
Just getting back to people.
And
Is he?
I was going to say, and the art of like, if you say you're going to do something, you do it. That is so key in my business and, my personal life,
Yeah.
I had put one of my clients on the phone with a girl, and we had like such an hour conversation. She was in real estate and developing, we talked about women empowerment and helping women in business. She was going to introduce us to somebody. It's been 3 weeks. I cannot get a hold of her. She has not returned a call, an email, a text, anything. Those are the things that's the tough part about what I do, you know?
Well, let's hope she's going to listen to this episode and she'll get back to you.
I doubt it, but it's all, but you never know. Let's be positive.
You never know. We've got the outreach growing, so maybe she'll hear it or hear about it. Well,
Yeah.
I think that, just going back to that integrity side, it's so important. You are extremely articulate when you speak. You are straight to the point, which I love. You're not BSing us. You don't blow smoke. Are there any favorite cliches or mantras that you subscribe to? Like
Do what you say you're going to do.
there it goes. So
End
so
of
we're having
story.
there's a theme with you.
Yeah, it is. Do what you say you're going to do, and if you can't, then you have to let the person know that. I mean, I was brought up like that. My dad is a retired attorney and everything, so we were brought up to, if you say you're going to do something, you have to do it, and then make sure that you have a copy of everything.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm
The
sure.
two main things I grew up here. Make sure you get a copy of every report, what having to do with anything or any invoice or whatever, and then do what you say you're going to do.
And probably a good idea not to debate your dad.
No, oh God, not even close. Not going to win.
Well, let me ask you this. We have a lot of people listening that they are transitioning. Maybe some of them are athletes, maybe some of them are veterans, maybe some are just transitioning out of COVID, out of the pandemic, or just out of a new job and into a new one. Do you have any advice for somebody that is kind of looking to start things over right now and achieve levels of greatness in their life, but they might not know where to start?
I think the first thing to start is, and I'd be happy to do a call with anybody. I think the first thing to start is to find out what you're good at and what you're passionate about. Not what your parents have told you, not what your friends have told you, not what, anybody else has told you. In your heart of hearts, do you love working with kids? Do you love working with finances? Do you love math? Do you love, the real estate? Do you love technology? What do you truly love? Don't worry about like what you're going to do with it, that type of thing. And then, just open your mind, talk to people, reach out. People, for the most part, are really nice. They'll help give you advice. They'll, you put up a note on Facebook or something like that, connect at a networking event. Be really open to opportunities. And when people are talking to you, listen to what they're saying, and they may actually have a really good, connection or contact for you. And move on that. Another thing I noticed some people do is, you make a connection or something, but it takes a week or 2 or 3 or whatever. Just do it. Like if you say you're going to make it a connection, or you're going to follow through with something, just get it done that next day. To anybody looking for new opportunities, if they, the point of that is if they meet somebody that kind of, they look really interesting, I would love to just talk to them. Reach out to them the next day. It's fine. It's fine. Send him an email, give him a call, text, or, use LinkedIn or Facebook or something like that, and, anybody who's interesting to them, reach out, have no fear. Just do it.
I think that's such a good point. And what you said in the beginning, you have to have passion. I think a lot of people lack passion. Or they haven't identified their passion, maybe.
They haven't identified their passion. Maybe they have some insecurities or whatever, that they're not this enough, they're not smart enough, they're not pretty enough, they're not good, fit enough, they're not this enough. We all have that we're not enough mentality. So that holds us back, from moving forward or reaching out to people. That's just kind of a work in progress for everybody, I think.
Well, and you know what? To your point earlier, it's good to have the wins. Excuse me. To your point earlier, it's good to have the wins, because when you reach out and you make that connection, great things can happen. I mean, think about this. There's a friend of mine, and he was actually on our podcast too, Dwayne Wilson. And Dwayne had played in professional sports as well. He was connected to Marcus on LinkedIn. I reached out to Marcus on LinkedIn and said, I'd love to have you on the podcast. Marcus was on the podcast. And then he connected me to you. Here you are on the podcast. And here we are making connections. I mean, it's
a very, very small world.
Yeah.
Like I said, and now, I mean, it's, the good thing is it's easier than ever to get out, find somebody. Yeah, because of, LinkedIn and Facebook and whatever. It's just easier and easier to find somebody who's connected to the person who you need to be connected to. So I tell you, warm leads, like making a small introduction, like Erik meets so-and-so is going to go so much farther than just like a cold call, and ask people to make an introduction. They won't, they usually don't mind. It takes 5. That's another thing. And when people say, I'm going to introduce you to somebody and they don't do it, they've been busy. Like, I've never said this, but like, I want to say this. It's like, count to 5. Why? Just count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, your introduction would have been done by then. Just like type it out, done, or do it by text. It takes 5 to 8 seconds to make an introduction, and it can change someone's life. So, that's another thing. It's not a big deal. Just make that introduction because it can change someone's life.
I think people are just operating in fear too much. They're so afraid of what other people are going to think.
Mm-hmm.
They stop focusing on their passion, and they're just focused on their fears, and then that controls them. And that's what I like most about you. Although there's so many things I like, but you just come across fearless, and that's why people need to have you in their corner.
Yeah,
people need Robin the rock star.
I appreciate that.
Robin the rock star.
Robin. There's a wealth manager, a senior C-suite wealth manager that I know. She doesn't even use my name. She was like, "Hey, Robin," or she'll email me. She'll post or comment, "Hi, Robin."
Hey, it's a great song. You got your own background song with Rockin' Robin, so there's nothing wrong with that. I have my
own theme song already.
Well, I believe, Robin, that people need you in their corner, and not only to have you, for them to be your client, but for them to be in your sphere of influence. You are a very remarkable person. You are fearless. You have the art of the connection, the art of the follow-up. You understand how to get things done. You're not afraid to make things happen. And for people listening right now that are interested to reach out to you, specifically some of those people that may become your clients, what is the best way for people to reach out to you?
I'm actually old-fashioned in the way that you can call my cell. Well, not anytime, but you can call my cell, which is 754-234-6494. I'm in South Florida. That's 754-234-6494, or my website, which is Robin with an I, ROBIN, at RLLmarketinggroup.net. So it's Robin with an I at RLLmarketinggroup.net. But feel free to text, call, or email me, which is Robin at RLLmarketinggroup.com. So my email is Robin at RLLmarketinggroup.com. The other was my website.
I love it. For people that are looking for someone in their corner who is fearless, you need to reach out to Robin. And Robin, I have been looking forward to this episode for a long time.
Me too.
And I cannot thank you enough for being on here and just sharing some of your wisdom and your passion with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Erik. This has been truly a wonderful experience, and I'm so grateful to you for all that you do for me and all of your other, your listeners and all the other guests that you have on the show. So thank you as well for all that you do.
Well, there's so much still bottled up in you that we got to get out on the next episode. So we may have to do a round 2 with you.
Not a problem. I'm ready.
All right, Robin. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you as well. Have a great afternoon.